Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Nathan Milazzo. Thanks for being on the show, Nathan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Nathan found real estate investing by browsing through podcasts while mowing lawns during high school. Today, he is 25 years old and invests in small to mid-sized apartment buildings in B and C areas in the Baton Rouge and surrounding markets. He has done wholesaling, a live-in flip or house hack, and 100% seller financing deals and apartment deals. So Nathan, welcome to the show. I'm grateful to have you on. It's great to see your success. I wish that I had learned about real estate investing when I was in high school. Man, I wish I had gotten that much longer ago. You can't imagine, how much further we could have been down this road. But anyway, the Lord has a hand in all that, and I'm grateful. But it's awesome to see what you've done, and I'm looking forward to getting into it. Tell the listeners a little more about who you are, and let's help them to also, especially maybe the younger listeners or people who are looking to get started in the real estate business, or or younger in their entrepreneurial journey anyway, and help them to see how you've done it, and maybe they can do the same. So get us started with who you are, and let's dive in.
Right. Yeah. So I come from a blue collar, hardworking family. Hard work has always been a good model my parents taught me as a young age. So I actually stumbled into real estate, believe it or not. I had a little lawn business just because I was a little hustler. From day one, I just always wanted to hustle and make living for myself. So I actually started browsing into money and investing while I was mowing lawns and stuff like that. And I just stumbled into real estate and just started from wholesaling, and then turned that into buying my first live-in flip, I should say. And, I did that for no money down. That was a completely seller finance deal. And then I turned that equity and a lot of my savings into buying that fourplex. And then here we are. I have a 32 unit complex that we're doing a remodel on now. And we're looking at another 64 unit complex to hopefully close, depending on what the COVID does and stuff like that, and how financing is at the end of the year. So yeah, we're still pretty busy. It's definitely a building block. You start small and you just kind of work your way up to the big stuff. And that's my goal. My goal is 1,000 units. So that'll be pretty nice when I get there.
Well, good for you. No, it's awesome. Tell me a little about, you had the lawn business and you're in high school, right? And, you're just striving to have your own business. I think it's incredible. Right. It's just great. And then you started wholesaling. So you're learning about real estate. You did a live-in flip, and then all of a sudden you're buying a fourplex and then a 36 unit. I mean, that's awesome. Tell me maybe some pain points through that process of growth that you could help the listener with.
Right. Yeah. A lot of pain points. The live-in flip was probably the most painful just because you're living in it. I had roommates at the time. And then my wife now, she was my girlfriend at the time, was living there with all these guys living in the construction zone. So that was definitely not the easiest part. So I don't recommend that, but it's a learning experience, I still live in the house today. I'm actually sitting in it now, but it's really the hard work. I was actually very blessed to have a situation where I was financially pretty stable for my age. I was making more money than most people I knew, still am most likely. And I didn't spend that money like most kids would do. I just saved. And I also used home equity line of credit and stuff like that. And the next, got 150 grand in the bank account. And instead of going buying in a car like most kids would do or whatever, I was like, okay, well, what can I step into the bigger step now? And it's a scary step. You go from a single family home to an apartment complex and you're like, wow, that's scary. Because and it's even scarier when you tell your family about it and they're like, wow, are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? You're 22 years old and you're trying to buy an apartment complex. And so that definitely was tough. But once you get past that and you surround yourself with the right people, and I'm blessed to have great partners today. It's, like I said, we're working on a 32 unit complex, looking at even a double size apartment complex. And it's really not even the size anymore that matters. Really. It's just, we have the systems in place to take it down now. And it's pretty cool to see how far we've come in a few years. So.
Nice. Well, I have some questions there for you. I was thinking about, you said, like didn't spend like most, or the live and flip was the most painful. You came out of that, and it's like, okay, you learned a
Mhm.
lot. And then, I like how, when we can learn more about, what if we act like everyone else, we're going to get what everybody else has got, right? And you had to make some hard decisions, through that time.
Right.
And, whether, the live and flip to, tell me a little bit about going from though a live and flip to a fourplex. And then obviously we'll go to that 32 unit, like thinking
Mhm.
through being able to manage that and finance something like that.
Yeah, so the live and flip, I was blessed enough to I actually rented the house from the lady, and I negotiated because she just kept telling me every time we pay rent, like, "Oh man, I can't wait to get rid of this thing," And I was so nervous to ask her to sell it to me because at the time I was only 19. So I was just like one day I just told her, I was like, "Hey, well, have you ever thought about selling this house?" And she goes, "Yeah, I definitely would." And she didn't even think that I was interested in buying it. So when I brought her the opportunity to sell her financing, she had never heard of it. But I actually was able to get the house for 118,000 and I only put $2,000 down. And I actually put about $10,000 into it to repair it. And then I've put more money since. But my wife likes to call me cheap, but I like to call myself frugal. It's it's cheap for a reason. We save. I mean, at the time I was probably saving about 4 or 5 grand a month, and I was just literally every penny I'd make, I lived like I was broke, and then just save, and then by the time I was doing my living flip, the lawn business actually, I had a client. It's pretty cool how that works out. But I had a client that I was cutting this fourplex for, and same thing, older lady. She told me the same thing, and that she didn't know how to manage it. She was older. There's a lot of bad tenants there taking advantage of her. So I actually was able to buy that fourplex for only $7,000 down. And
Wow.
just negotiated terms on that. I still own that building today too. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So it's finding the problem, and that's what she wanted because she didn't, wanted to avoid taxes and stuff. Yeah.
Wow. So you were all those seller finance deals?
The first two were, yes, and like I said, that's people who are used to having that monthly income coming in, and I kind of made it to where, especially the fourplex, because she was actually losing money every month because the tenants were just completely taking advantage of her. So I turned the loss every month into a $1,400 a month gain, and she couldn't believe it. She asked me at closing she was like, "Are you sure you want to buy this thing?" And I was like, "Oh, absolutely," because we have a big university here at LSU, so I knew I could easily rent it out. She just didn't know how to market it or anything like that. So I definitely won really, really big on that one, and the equity plus my cash turned into this 32 unit. So
Wow. And so you found that by mowing the lawn and getting to know her, and then you created a
right,
win-win situation
yep,
for both of you, which is incredible that she's, stressed out about this. I mean, I was there at one time, not knowing how to manage those tenants, getting taken advantage of, losing money, losing sleep. And now all of a sudden she doesn't have to
right,
manage it and she's getting 1,400 a month, in income. So what a great way, for that story to end, for
right.
both of you. But then you said you took out a line of credit. Was it on the fourplex that now you can do a larger property?
That was on the single
Okay.
family home. I have about $120,000 of equity in this thing.
Congratulations.
And then I had about $100,000 in my cash. Yeah, thank you. That I also have. And we bought this 32 unit. We actually got, again, we bought the 32 unit for a really good deal too.
So how did you find the
So
32
hopefully
unit and how did you
when we,
finance
we
it?
refinance it. So yeah, the 32 unit is actually in the same area near LSU as the 4 unit. And it was actually listed for a year or so. And we had known the guy who was managing it. So we negotiated with him for months. And then right when we were about to close, COVID hit. So it delayed us a few more months. Um, but yeah, they were originally asking $1,000,001 for it. We got it for 878.
Wow.
We've got 100,000 or $150,000 line of credit on it. Yeah, I know. COVID was definitely a motivating factor for that. But yeah, we actually got it for 878, $150,000 line of credit, and then we put $150,000 down. So yeah, and once we're done with it, we should be all in about $7,000 a unit renovated. We're kind of being real frugal right now, just because we don't know where the refinance market's going to be whenever we go, to refinance that. But the good thing about it, the way the debt's set up is it's a rollover loan. So it's kind of like a bridge loan, but it's a local bank. and say we don't refinance, it would just roll over, with the line of credit on top of the actual loan. We don't want to do that just because the rates aren't very attractive, but if we absolutely had to, we could.
Nice. No, that's awesome. Well, tell me, I just think it's incredible that you went, at your age too, that you went from, this live-in flip to a fourplex, and then all of a sudden, you're getting essentially almost $1 million loan, for this next property, and able to think through that and make it happen. It's incredible, and I just think it goes to, to the listeners right now that are thinking, oh, I'm too young, or, oh, there's no deals out there right now. I mean, you're out there making it happen. What would you say to that listener right now that's maybe thinking that right now? Yeah, there's no deals out there, or I'm too young for people to take me seriously. I hear that all the time. Also.
Well, I hear that still all the time. You should see the faces on the people when we go to close, and they're like, "Wow, is this like your assistant or something?" But hey, I love it. But yeah. But people, it's all about your mindset. If you have a big enough goal and you break those goals down into small enough accomplishable, milestones, that's really has been a credit to my success. And I have a supportive wife that helps me too. But, like I said, my original goal, my BHAG, I call it, is my 1,000 units. Okay. If I can hit that before 30, I'll be ecstatic, but if not, it's okay. So you have, my yearly goals, am I in touch with that? And then you have your monthly goals, am I in touch with that? And then my daily goals. So all those daily, monthly, and yearly goals need to be added up to that same vision of the 1,000 units. So having a very, very strict, you don't have to be too strict on yourself. I'm just a little bit strict, but having it set up to where exactly, and your clarity is there, and you have the team in place, and you have your partners that are supportive. It's really the noise gets blocked out at least for me. It gets blocked out pretty easily, and we've been told no. I mean, tons of times, and it doesn't even affect me anymore. So okay, well, he said no. Let's go to the next one. So yeah, it's just you have to be just frugal. One, save your money. Two, you have to be relentless and just don't ever give up, and just don't let people get you down, because at the end of the day, they're gonna be the ones saying, "Oh, I knew him when he was broke. You should see him now."
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's so many things there. I mean, that was such a good minute and a half there that you just sharing that, because that is so important. Just the mindset. People think that, oh, he must have some kind of special skills, or he must whatever. I mean, I hear it all the time personally. Or he must know something about real estate that I don't. And I try to tell people, nope. It's not this special gifting. It's like just being able to have the mindset to say, we're going to keep moving forward no matter what, and just not giving up. And that's what you have done. And I want to get into that a little bit more in a minute, but I liked how you mentioned a supportive wife. I try to always give my wife credit. I mean, the Lord first, but just, if it wasn't for my wife and her support, we would not be where we're at. I mean, I could have not done all this work over the last couple of years to get where we're at. And I would imagine you can relate to that in a big way. Is there any advice you could give on just how you helped her to get on board, with this? I know she stayed with you in that live and flip. She was a tenant there or whatever, and she, that was probably kind of crazy. I can't now she's on board about this whole rental thing, but she is, how did you paint that picture for her, to make that happen?
Right. Whew. Tough question. Yeah, that's definitely, it's never an easy task, and that's how I always tell. That's how I knew she was the one. Because if she stayed with me with that, I mean, that was rough. You have other guy roommates, and we were young and stuff like that. This is a horrible, horrible living environment. So, but yeah, how I got her involved, it's really letting her know that, okay, yeah, this seems crazy now, okay, but then you paint the picture of like what we could live like now, then. And when you have a guaranteed income, whether you work or not, because I work really hard still. But letting her know that, hey, I know what I'm doing. One, two, I'm not spending my money I'm not taking a severe risk. I'm taking some, but not, severe risk. And then three, we have the savings and financial coming in from different forms of income. So, say we do lose money on one deal or something like that. I have several streams of income that could probably take that hit. But really just, having the same goal too. Like we like planning trips in advance. That way, it's kind of like a reward system for myself and her. But it's a daily struggle for sure. It's definitely because there's a lot of like questioning yourself, and then she's questioning you, then you're questioning her. So it's tough, but it's definitely worth it, and it's definitely good to have that person on board.
What about when you mentioned like now you have systems to take down larger deals, or you have the systems in place to handle just the processes, whatever, to give you the confidence. Well, now it's not that big of a deal for you to think about doing the 64 unit or or whatever, larger property. Can you elaborate a little bit on those systems or processes to help give you that confidence?
Right. So property management softwares, that definitely helps, makes life a lot easier being organized. And so it's also a daily improvement too. It's something that we're always looking for the better software, but at the same time, we don't want to switch to something and have to relearn it. But property management softwares, having the right people on staff. So on this 32 unit in particular, we actually inherited a live-in property manager. And usually I'd be against something like that, but this gentleman in particular, really good man of faith. And then my business partner is actually a preacher too, so they actually knew each other from that. And he's actually an older gentleman. And the way this man in particular takes his job is like, okay, I'm housing young kids also, so I want to keep this because the management before it was kind of a dangerous complex. If you have the right people and the right vision in place, you can accomplish a lot of things. And now we're trying to implement that gentleman there, teaching new people that we hire, in the future to come on board with that same vision and that same company, goal of like, okay, we're not just buying apartment complexes. We're buying homes for these people to live in. We want it safe, affordable, and just, a good home environment, like kids playing football in the courtyard and stuff like that. So really, it's people and systems. Now that I think about it, I'd probably say people are way more important, especially in this, this deal in particular, because it's been a tough road, but we had the right people involved and everybody has the same goal. And it's just a very positive environment.
What's been the hardest part of this process for you to getting to larger multifamily? And where do you see yourself, a year from now?
The hardest part has been the financing one. Two has been contractors. Even though we have great relationships with them and we don't have any hard feelings against it, we just probably went a little bit over budget for phase one, especially with COVID and stuff going on. But I see ourselves probably bringing on our own in-house property management and our own in-house construction company. We're actually working on building that now. Again, with great partners I have. So I see ourselves in a year having our own in-house property management and our own in-house construction. That way we kind of control the expenses there. And there's not any, because you're going to have expenses that come up that you weren't planning on. But it makes it a little bit easier to handle those if you have it all in-house, just because, and you can't blame the contractors because it's more work, but we definitely spent more money than we thought we were on phase one for sure, but that's okay. Lesson learned.
How do you prepare for a potential downturn?
Well, being frugal, save a lot. And that's kind of a thing we're really working on because I've never been through one, and I always just network with people who have, and really, we have a pretty blue collar work ethic here. We don't really get affected too crazy. We don't really see any big ups or downs here. So knowing your market, I would say would be the number one thing. And then saving your money and, being frugal, maybe wait on some of those big ticket items. We're not saying big ticket, upgrades and stuff, fix the stuff that needs to be fixed now, and then kind of save your money and make sure we're in a good financial position to, ride that wave down if we have to. And we're prepared for that. We've definitely saved money and being frugal, each one of us. So that's really the only thing I have, just because I haven't been through one yet, but just being frugal, really.
What do you expect to happen in the real estate market over the next, say, 6 to 12 months?
Well, in our local market, I'm hoping that we're diversified enough, just because we have the university. It seems to be, now that COVID, we have classes going on now and stuff like that. But we do see that, we probably could see there's not going to be really any rent bumps. We don't really anticipate there being any rent increases there. So we're kind of already accepted that. As for our market, though, hopefully, since we have a lot of good jobs here, We don't see it going down too much like you'd see somewhere like in California. But locally, I think we'll be okay. Nationally, I'm not really sure. I don't really pay attention to those big markets.
Sure. So what about, Nathan, I believe that anyone that's successful in business has a high level of self-discipline. And how have you gained such a high level of self-discipline, especially at a very young age?
I think my parents, growing up, we've always been pretty frugal, and my parents, especially, they worked really, really hard for all three of us. So I think it's just been instilled in me since, I was young, and then always having that goal, that's really, I think that's my main driver, is having that vision of what the future will be like. But really, I think I credit my parents a whole lot for that, just teaching us the value of hard work. We grew up on land, so we always had to, maintain the land and go out there and, we had chickens and stuff like that. So, just hard work, getting up early and just, putting that good hard work in.
What's a daily habit that you have now that you're disciplined about that's helped you achieve success?
I really just have my daily goals, my monthly goals, like I said, my yearly goals. So my habit for success really is writing everything down and then having a list of things to get done during the day. That's probably my main thing. And I feel good about it, checking those things off on the list. That's what makes me kind of, feel good about the day. That's really, it's nothing special. I just, I have my little list of things to get done, and I get it done every day. And there's not even an option to it to me. It's just like, you have to get them done. You can't do this until it's done, kind of thing.
What's a way you've recently improved your business that we could apply to our business?
Bringing in the right people for sure. And then, networking with people, learning new systems that we didn't know about. So systems and people, again, it's crazy. You don't know what you don't know, So we were kind of flying blind for a little bit. We went to a few networking events, pre-COVID, and then we did a few digital ones too. But yeah, we're getting aware of some software that we didn't know, and then having the right people and then training them certain things on different scenarios that we weren't aware about. So
on that note, how do you document your processes and your systems?
So we're still doing Excel for the most part. Like I said, we're still learning. We have Cozy that we use also. And then we had Buildium. We actually didn't really like Buildium as much just because it wasn't really designed the way we wanted it to be designed. Some people like it, but we just decided not to. We really were looking into getting into a bigger software. We're just not big enough for that yet. So right now we just scale back down to Cozy and Excel. And we have a pretty good system for that. So
as long as they're documented, right? I mean, that's the first step. You can improve the software.
Right, yeah.
You can improve the software later, but the hardest part really is getting it documented initially, and taking that step. So what's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
I think just my grit, and just that goal mentality of just hard work and just getting after it every day. And I look forward to it every day. I'll wake up excited, ready to see what the day has. And I think it's just a lot to do with genetics, it's just instilled in me since day one.
And how do you like to give back?
So I have employees in my lawn business. I still own that to this day. I still enjoy it too. It's a good time. But I have young guys, mainly as college kids, and I'm trying to start a program that's pay your way through college. I actually have one of my guys who paid his way completely through college debt free. And I always try to tell my guys, just because they look up to me somewhat. So I like showing them, like, hey, this is what I did. Here's my mistakes. Don't go this way, go this way, kind of thing. And I love, seeing these guys get excited about it. And, because most kids don't even learn about financial independence or education or anything like that until, in their 40s. So my goal is to, have my guys follow my footsteps somewhat if they're interested. And, more importantly, pay their way through college. That's the thing I'm really harping on them for, because I didn't go to college. I barely graduated high school. So I just want to, give my guys a good environment and, good work environment, but really teach them as much as I can,
Wow. Well, Nathan, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I wanted to thank you, for being a listener of the show. You were telling me that before we got started, and I'm grateful for that. But just grateful to meet you, and I love having guests on too that are just out there making it happen. Reminds me of the quote from Henry Ford. I think it was Henry Ford, but he said, if you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're you're right, or vice versa, one or the other.
Right.
Just, you're such a great story and example of how important the mindset is, and just that you can make it happen, even if you are young, and you can make it happen, even if you don't have all the money, in the very beginning, and that there are still deals out there to be had. And so thank you again, just for sharing that with us, and tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Nathan_Milazzo on Instagram, and then Facebook just Nathan Milazzo. It's Milazzo. And I, just message me or whatever. I have, I'm glad to message people back. I also have an email address. It's milazzo171@gmail.com. Feel free to email me there too.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.